Team, good morning and welcome. Just thought I would drop you all a quick line. Wanted to have a quick chat um, about injuries. I guess we all do. We all suffer them at some stage: minor, major, long-term, short-term, amateur, pro, whatever. We all suffer them. Unfortunately, I've been sort of on and off injured for crikey since about 5 weeks before Ironman World Champs, and various different versions of injury ranging from various different things. So thought I would throw this out there to you. Just some hints and tips on the best ways and best ways not to sort yourself out when you do have an injury, and what to do once you're coming back. I guess the single most important thing is if you're injured or you're sick, seek medical advice. Like, there is no other way to do it. End of story. Don't go to Facebook and ask your friends or a group, or get on Dr. Google and go, I've got a sore shin or I've got a sore heel, because most people's natural tendencies is to find the worst thing possible and go down that path, which is probably not necessarily true. And the other thing that a lot of people do, particularly athletes and particularly male athletes, is just ignore it completely and just keep on going until they can't run, swim, ride, lift, whatever again. And normal life functions then become affected, which is a very long way from ideal, that's for sure. So tip number one, make sure you get medical advice. End of story. Number two, follow the advice. Look, there are some times where the advice isn't great, or you don't believe it, or whatever. So go and get second, third, fourth, 10th opinion, whatever. That's cool. No issues with that. I'm sure most people would recommend that, depending on what you're doing. But once they've identified the problem, make sure you stick to the plan. You know, if it's a physio issue, they're going to give you recovery movements, stretches, whatever programs to work with. Do it. Trust me. I've done it enough. It works. And it will definitely improve your recovery. And then once you've done that, ask, how do I make it stronger? How do I make this weakness that I've now got or I've had, how do I make it stronger than what it was before? You know, is that through strength work or what have you? So, because you want to prevent it from happening again. Big problem in the world where you suffer injury after injury after injury after injury. And it's pretty common, unfortunately. Next step is the gradual introduction of training. So depending on the injury, you know, if it's a running or a lower limb injury, be gradual. Take it easy. Start really small. You know, run for 30 seconds, walk for 5 minutes. Do that 5 times. Go home. It's movement. We're just getting that movement back, getting that movement back. So don't rush into going straight back to where you were, because depending on the length of the injury, there's a fair chance you won't be there, which is a long way from ideal. The most likelihood is, if you're coming back from an injury and you go too hard too early, is to either cause the same injury to happen again, or you're compensating slightly and you cause something else to happen, which is my case. So definitely do as I say and not as I do in this space, because it's definitely not my specialty, that's for sure. Another thing with injuries is the mental toll it can take on you. I know for me it's been horrendously frustrating. I know friends of mine have had far worse injuries than me, way worse, way longer term. But from someone who was going to training generally twice a day, 7 days a week, varying intensity, blah, 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 to almost doing nothing, it's frustrating, and it does take its toll. You know, it's that old saying is, the more you do, the more you want to do, and the less you do, the less you want to do, and it's so true. And mentally, that can have a big effect. You can be grumpy, frustrated. I know for me, if I don't do something, I get irritable and grumpy. I don't sleep as well. I tend to, start eating like shit because I don't have a goal. I'm not driven. I end up probably drinking too many beers, which is highly likely and has been, but that's another story. So, there's all those negative effects from injury. So how do you counteract that? Look, depending on the injury, there's probably something you can do. There will be some form of movement that you can do. If it's lower limb, work on the upper body. If it's shoulders, legs, work on the lower body. Spinal injuries are a little bit different, because they can cause different versions of pain. But treat your rehab as your training. For those of you who like to geek out with, like me, with training peaks and seeing those little green dots, put your rehab in each day, stick your watch on, stick your heart rate monitor in. As wanky as it looks, it gives you a sense of achievement. You see those little green boxes light up, happy days, I've done my rehab for today, tick it off until you can start getting your full movement or additional movements in. Find alternatives, less weight bearing. If you don't swim and you learn to swim, run in a pool, the impact might be less, and you can do that, but obviously check with your medical professional beforehand, that's for sure. So make sure you get on top of that, because that movement for a lot of us is our release. It's how we relax, and I know a lot of athletes don't drink, smoke, do all those things, which is cool. Good on you. So don't turn to those dark sides as a crutch in the meantime for something to do. And for those of you, particularly you long course athletes or your ultra endurance athletes, you can even reconnect with those people that are known as your family. How's that sound? Go catch up with them and say good day to them. Spend some time with them. Do things that they would normally do in place of your training. Play with the kids, hang out with your wife, go for dinner, whatever it is. There's other things that will keep you entertained and keeping your mind occupied. If it's a really long-term injury and you know it's going to be, you've had a fairly serious, broken hip, broken leg, whatever, maybe it's worth doing some study, taking up reading books, musical instruments. Just find something to occupy that time that you would normally be exercising or training, and find something else to do with that time, because it can mentally become pretty frustrating, that's for sure. Like I said, it's what I've been through. I'm not 100%, and I'm just starting to move again. I've been able to swim a little bit, which has been great. Swum 3 times this week, which is fantastic. I'm stoked about that. Which has been good. So I guess this has come from my own frustrations in how I've been dealing with it, because in some senses I've been dealing with it okay, and in other parts of it it's been pretty bad. It's been a sort of a tougher time in our house with Sherry taking on a new role with life, and she's heading off, and we won't get to see each other for the next 3 months, but so that's an added stress. So we had a lot of going away parties and Christmas period parties, and I guess my personality type is all in or all out, so alcohol's been given a fair nudge, and then obviously from doing that, and which impacts on your sleep, I've got sick from that, so which is to be expected. So then that's obviously another frustration. So finding those better ways of doing things is definitely a good idea, that's for sure, as opposed to binging, whether it's food, Netflix, booze, whatever. Try and avoid that. It's another really important piece of the puzzle. If you are a heavily training athlete and you're normally eating a lot, make sure you change your dietary intake. Otherwise, you'll end up like me and putting 10% of your body weight on in 2 weeks, because you don't change your dietary habits, as in the quantity, not necessarily the quality, but the quantity does count, of what you're taking in, and you've gone from burning 5,000 calories a day to 1,500, and guess where it's going to go? Right in here, boys and girls, right in here, or wherever it goes on you. And then you just see another frustration. You look at yourself in the mirror and go, Jesus Christ, who's that bloke or who's that chick? That's not me, is it? And you've got another frustration. So make sure you keep on top of your on top of your food and calorie intake. Quantity down, quality high, and the higher the quality when you're injured and sick, you're going to get a better response, hopefully, and improve that recovery time, along with hydration. Obviously, that shouldn't change. Make sure you're getting good clean water, electrolytes in all day, every day, no brainer, from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed. That is for sure. So, look, I guess that's just quickly what I wanted to cover off today. It's been a challenging time, that's for sure. We'd also just like to sort of ask you guys to make sure you're following us on Instagram at Get Coached, and on Facebook as well. Make sure you check us out there. And we've got a whole bunch of these and other apparel that we've brought out, and you can find them on the link from the getcoach.com website. So make sure you check that out and get hold of plenty of that, because it's good gear, that is for sure. So thanks again for tuning in, guys. We'll try and bring you a few more of these, either weekly or whenever I can think of something, and we'll chuck them up on Facebook and YouTube and wherever. And yeah, make sure you look after yourself. Cheers.